Good morning and welcome to 101010 at Poets House, the poetry library in downtown New York City. Poets House is the place for poetry, poets, and all things verse. I'm Dave Johnson, poet and playwright, and your host of 101010, where we invite you at 10 a.m. on weekdays for 10 minutes to write a new poem. And in 10 days, you'll have 10 new poems. This morning on 101010 times 2, we're looking at the poems of Joy Harjo. Joy is an incredible poet who is also the present Poet Laureate of the United States. And this morning she's going to be reading live for us just in a couple hours at 12 noon. And I hope you will come back and join us for that. This will be really, really compelling work. We have some of her books here with us today. How We Became Human, The Woman Who Fell from the Sky. We have A Map to the Next World. And the book Conflict Resolutions for Holy Beings, right, is the book that I am going to read a poem from this morning called Speaking Tree. Now, this poem opens with a little quote by the poet Sandra Cisneros. And Sandra is also an incredible poet, who we have many of her books here at Poets House as well. This Speaking Tree poem begins with a quote from Sandra Cisneros. "I had a beautiful dream. I was dancing with a tree." I had a beautiful dream. I was dancing with a tree. Speaking Tree. Some things on this earth are unspeakable. Genealogy of the broken. A shy wind threading leaves after a massacre, or the smell of coffee and no one there. Some humans say trees are not sentient beings, but they do not understand poetry, nor can they hear the singing of trees when they are fed by wind or water music, or hear their cries of anguish when they're broken and bereft. Now I'm a woman longing to be a tree, planted in a moist, dark earth between sunrise and sunset. I cannot walk through all realms. I carry a yearning I cannot bear alone in the dark. What shall I do with all this heartache? The deepest rooted dream of a tree is to walk even just a little ways from the place next to the doorway, to the edge of the river of life, and drink. I have heard trees talking long after the sun has gone down. Imagine what it would be like to dance close together in this land of water and knowledge, to drink deep what is undrinkable. Joy Harjo from Speaking Tree, right? Now let's just look at this poem for a few minutes this morning. She opens, as we said, the poem with a little quote by the poet Sandra Cisneros, and it's, "I had a beautiful dream. I was dancing with a tree." Right? It's a beautiful idea, the idea of dancing with a tree, the idea of motion and movement, right? The first thing you see right away, of course, in Speaking Tree, and the idea of dancing with the tree in both Joy's poem here and also in the line by Sandra, is the personification of the tree, right? It's becoming like human-like qualities, right? She opens the poem, "Some things on this earth are unspeakable," right? And then she has a colon and then begins to make a little list. The genealogy of the broken, a shy wind threading leaves after a massacre. Imagine the wind, a shy wind, she calls it. Again, giving it a very personable quality to the wind here. Or the smell of coffee and no one there. Some humans say trees are not sentient beings, right? And she disagrees with this. They do not understand poetry, she says, or they cannot hear the singing of the trees when they're fed by wind or water music, right? The idea that the trees are actually singing when the wind blows through them, right? Or as she describes it, water music, right? There's a beautiful line there, beautiful idea, the idea of the music making water and water making music. Or hear their cries of anguish, she says, when they're broken and bereft. Now I'm a woman longing to be a tree, planted in a moist, dark earth between sunrise and sunset. I cannot walk through all realms. I carry a yearning I cannot bear alone in the dark. And then she gives us the question here, what shall I do with all this heartache? The deepest rooted dream of a tree is to walk, even just a little ways, from the place next to the doorway to the edge of the river of life, and drink, right? Again, giving it those human-like qualities that the tree is actually dreaming of walking just a little ways toward the water. I have heard trees talking, she says, long after the sun has gone down. And again, she gives us this colon, and in italics, it's like it's the voice of the trees saying, imagine what it would be like to dance close together in this land of water and knowledge, to drink deep what is undrinkable. The speaking tree, right? Speaking tree. This is what I'm going to ask you to do today. I'm going to ask you to give a human-like quality to an object or to something in nature and allow it to do something, and use an active verb to start this. She calls it the speaking tree, right? It could be anything, any object. Maybe it's an object you have in the house. You know, it could be a coffee pot. It could be a blender. It could be something that's right there, or it could be something of the natural world, right, that we often pass by and don't give those kinds of qualities or that kind of attention to. And then also start it with an active verb. She says speaking. Maybe your object is laughing. Maybe your object is dancing. Maybe it's flying or boxing, right? Whatever it happens to be. So think of that, right? I'm thinking this morning something like the laughing moon, right? Or could be the flying leaf, right? The flying leaf. Anything, right? Could be anything that you think about. All right? I want you to see what you come up with your poem this morning. I'm going to try mine. You can take about 10 minutes with this, and then share your poem with us when you finish. Okay, we're going to write our poem now this morning after reading Speaking Tree by Joy Harjo. And what I've asked you to do is to choose an object or something from nature and then give it a personified active verb to go along with it, and then see what you come up with. Allow the imagination just to take over, and for that object to become personified or to have human-like characteristics, and see where it takes you, right? So we're going to just see what happens. I'm going to write mine and you write yours. She says speaking tree, right? I am going to say dancing chair. Dancing chair, right? So I'm going to personify that chair this morning. Dancing chair, right? Here we go. Alone at home when all have forgotten my existence. I listen to the music through the wall, through the floor, through the ceiling, each neighbor in a different rhythm. Okay, let's see what we've come up with so far. The dancing chair, right? Alone at home when all have forgotten my existence, I listen to the music through the wall, through the floor, through the ceiling, each neighbor in a different rhythm. I step one leg over another. To the sound of my own. Well, I gotta go up here a little bit. Understanding. No one will ever know the joy I deliver to the furniture and the dog who listens with solo amusement. All right, let's see what we came up with. Wow, this is a crazy one this morning. I had no idea where this is going, what it's about, what it means. But anyway, we chose an object, right? You could choose something from nature, whatever you like to choose, and an active verb, right? So she chose speaking tree. I chose dancing chair. And here we go. Alone at home when all have forgotten my existence. I'm going to put a comma there. Alone at home when all have forgotten my existence, I listen to the music through the wall, through the floor, through the ceiling, each neighbor in a different rhythm. I step one leg over another to the sound of my own understanding. No one will ever know the joy I deliver to the furniture and the dog who listens with solo amusement. There you go, dancing chair. That's mine. Take about 10 minutes with yours this morning, and when you get your poem, share it with us at the address on the screen. This morning I want to share another poem with you by Joy Harjo. Joy is the present poet laureate of the United States and the very first Native American to hold that position. She is a member of the Muscogee Creek Nation in Oklahoma. And this morning I'm going to read you a poem from Conflict Resolution for Holy Beings. And this poem is called, This Morning I Pray for My Enemies. This morning I pray for my enemies. And whom do I call my enemy? An enemy must be worthy of engagement. I turn in the direction of the sun and keep walking. It's the heart that asks the question, not my furious mind. The heart is the smaller cousin of the sun. It sees and knows everything. It hears the gnashing, even as it hears the blessing. The door to the mind should only open from the heart. An enemy who gets in risks the danger of becoming a friend. This morning, I pray for my enemies by Joy Harjo. We'll see you next time, right here on 10-10-10 times 2 at Poet's House. If you've enjoyed these programs, please consider giving a contribution to Poet's House. For more than 30 years, they've kept the door wide open to everyone for the joy of poetry. Recently, they have temporarily had to shut the door and are reeling from the financial implications. Please give, even a small donation if you can. Thank you. Joy is the sitting U.S. president, right? She should be.
She should be.
In my dreams, she will be.